If you gave me $1 million today and told me I had 5 years to turn it into $20 million through commercial real estate, I wouldn't start by looking for the flashiest deal. Not at all. I wouldn't buy a Lamborghini. I wouldn't buy a luxury house. I wouldn't be buying luxury anything really. And honestly, I probably wouldn't even buy the property most people on Instagram would flex online. Because the fastest way to grow wealth in commercial real estate, it's understanding one thing. The game changes completely once you stop thinking like a buyer and start thinking like an operator. Most people with $1 million think small. Ironically, right? They buy one safe property, collect rent, wait 10 years, and maybe double their money. That's not really what you should be doing. But if your goal is exponential growth, you need velocity, you need leverage, you need assets that can force appreciation, not just hope appreciation happens. So here's exactly how I'd approach it. First, I'm not putting the entire million into one deal. That's one of the biggest mistakes investors could make, because in commercial real estate, liquidity is power. If putting the entire million down on one stabilized property basically locked myself into one outcome. Instead, I'm probably allocating that capital across multiple deals with different purposes. One stable asset, one value add asset, and one higher, maybe upside deal would be perfect. Because wealth is usually built through a combination of cash flow, forced appreciation, and strategic refinancing, not just buying and waiting. So in year one, I'm looking for overlooked commercial properties and growing secondary markets. Not Manhattan, not Miami trophy assets. I'm looking for areas where infrastructure is expanding, population is growing, businesses are moving in, and institutional money hasn't fully arrived yet. That's where the biggest upside usually is. Personally, I'd focus heavily on industrial flex space. The small bay warehouse, service industrial, last mile logistics, contractor storage, mixed flex buildings, because most people still don't fully understand how important industrial real estate became after e-commerce exploded. Everybody loves two-day shipping. You know I do. But nobody thinks about the buildings that made it actually possible. And the reason I like flex industrial so much is because demand becomes from real businesses. Roofers, HVAC companies, distribution companies, construction suppliers, small logistic operators. These businesses need this space. Absolutely need this space. And in many markets, there still isn't enough supply. Now, here's where most people mess up. They think commercial real estate is about buying beautiful buildings. I mean, we all like that, but it's not the case. It's about buying inefficient income. That's the secret. I'm looking for properties where rents are under market, management is weak, space is underutilized, or operations are outdated. Because if I can improve the NOI, that operating income, I can massively increase the property's value without the market needing to move at all. That's the power of commercial real estate. So, for example, if I increase a property's income by $200,000 annually and the market cap rate is 5%, let's say, that doesn't just increase value by $200,000. It increases the value by $4 million. That's the difference between residential and commercial thinking. And in residential, value is heavily based on comparable sales. In commercial, value is based on performance, which means operators win. So year 1, 2, I'm aggressively repositioning assets, improving tenant mix, renegotiating leases, and increasing occupancy, adding operational efficiencies, potentially subdividing spaces, modernizing branding, and presentation, because presentation matters more than people think in commercial real estate. I think this is very crucial. And a lot of commercial owners are still marketing properties like 27. Bad photos, no branding, no story, no visibility. Meanwhile, business owners today are influenced by modern presentation. So if I own industrial or retail assets, I'm making them feel premium. Professional media, strong signage, clean branding, modernized spaces, because perception affects value more than you think. Now, here's the key part most will miss. I'm refinancing, not selling. This is where scaling happens. Once the property value increases, I'm pulling equity back out through refinances, then redeploying that capital into more acquisitions. That's how portfolios start snowballing. Get it? Pretty cool. You're not starting over every deal. Your assets begin to fund future assets. That's when commercial real estate becomes dangerous in the best way possible. Now, by year 3, I'm likely partnering strategically, because if your goal is 20 million, you eventually stop thinking only about ownership percentages and you actually start thinking about deal volume. This is where a lot of investors stay small because of ego. Stop it with the ego. They want 100% ownership of a small portfolio instead of 20% ownership of something massive. But sophisticated investors understand leverage goes beyond money. It includes relationships, operators, developers, construction teams, lenders, tenant relationships. So I'd likely start partnering on larger acquisitions, maybe larger industrial centers, maybe marinas, maybe retail centers with redevelopment upside, especially properties tied to changing consumer behavior. That's where wealth transfer happens. People become wealthy when they recognize shifts early. E-commerce created warehouse demand. Migration patterns created Sunbelt demand. And experience-driven retail changed shopping centers forever. Remote work changed office demand. Commercial real estate rewards people who understand where society is moving towards, not where it was. And honestly, big reason most people never scale in commercial real estate is because they spend too much time chasing trends and not enough time understanding economics. The best investors I know are obsessed with traffic patterns, infrastructure, consumer behavior, business growth, shipping routes, zoning, and population migration, because commercial real estate is really a bet on human behavior. Now, by year 4 to year 5 range, the focus shifts from acquisition to optimization. At that point, I don't want random properties. That's not where this is right now. I want strategic assets that work together. A portfolio with predictable cash flow, strong tenant relationships, scalable operations, and refinance potential. And depending on the market, maybe I sell a portion of that portfolio. Maybe I continue refinancing. Maybe I bring in equity partners into deals. Maybe I roll assets into larger institutional grade deals. But the entire goal is this: control appreciating assets that produce increasing income while using leverage intelligently. That's how $1 million becomes into 20. Not overnight, not through gambling, through strategic acquisitions, forced appreciation, refinancing, and understanding where the world is going before everyone else. Because commercial real estate at the highest level possible isn't really about building. It's about seeing the future early and owning the infrastructure behind it. If you want help to understand commercial real estate, investing, or identifying opportunities in today's market, reach out to me directly below. I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.